they didn't tell me that St. Victoria and the church offices are downstairs. And I kept hearing bells ring, and I kept looking at the phone, and there were no lines let out. Well, they didn't tell you that every time a door opened upstairs, it rang down, and there was a funeral one day, and it kept going, and I was the only one there. It's like it was driving me crazy.
At St. Victoria?
Yeah.
Maybe that was my wife's funeral.
Oh, this was a while ago.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hope we didn't interrupt.
I did bring a dessert for your wife's
Well,
funeral.
oh my goodness, desserts. We came out very close. We had no idea how many people, and it was close, but we had lots of extra bars, and they were good to the last one. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Well, we are recording, so whenever you are ready, Sue.
All right, well, good morning. It's on this beautiful January morning. It's time to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with roll call. Susan, Bill, present. David? Not present. Martha? Julie? Jan?
Present.
Jack?
Here.
And Nancy?
Present.
And Patrick? Not present. All right, so we've got 4 of our members present. First item on the agenda is petitions and proclamations or suggestions. This is an opportunity that we can offer suggestions, complaints, anything you might have heard from friends or neighbors in Victoria. And also, if you have anything you'd like added on the agenda, now would be the time to mention it. Okay, so no committee members have anything to add to the agenda. The next item will be approval of the minutes.
One thing, Vice Chair, before we get started, I just want to talk about some city events that are going on. You guys don't mind?
Not at all.
Awesome. So I just want to announce that the winter recreation brochure is out there. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, or if you haven't received it in the mail, we do have copies downstairs for everybody, but there's a lot of great activities happening this winter, although we'd like to stay as much inside as possible. It's a good opportunity to get outside and meet some of your fellow neighbors. The other thing that's going on this weekend is the Victoria Firefighters Relief Association annual ice fishing contest. This has been going on for a number of years. Last year we had to cancel due to COVID, but it is back up and running again. That's going to be held February 13th, just right out here at Steiger Lake from 12:30 to 2:30.
I do believe that in the past you've been able to buy raffle tickets from Fire. I think now they have, you can buy them online by scanning and a number of various different methods.
That is true, yeah. I think you can buy them that day as well. But good
Do they
to
still have the shuttles from Vic's or from somewhere here out there? Do you know?
I do not know that, but I can definitely find that out for you, Jack.
I'm just curious. I don't know if I'll go out and stand there or not.
You can see it from your window.
Yes, yeah. That's true. I can see them.
Maybe we can all come over and sit.
Oh, if you want to sit on my balcony.
Let me think about that.
And then the last thing I want to mention, this was brought to our attention by Dawn from Carver County Public Health. There's a new number of upcoming Juniper classes. Juniper is a program that is hosted by the state of Minnesota, and they specialize in recreational and health-related activities. I could definitely print these off and share these with you if you'd like, but there are some online classes that you can register for just on the juniper.com website.
Is there any way that these can be posted, or how does Carver County advertise any of this information?
Great question. I can't speak for Carver County, but we could advertise via the city website if that's something that the committee would be interested in. Maybe the website, we could also do our social media web pages as well. We could talk about hosting some of these through the recreation center, at least just the online classes, but that's just up for discussion, of course. And
Maybe this is something we want to add to the website. I haven't heard of this before.
Yeah, it's something we advertise in the senior recreation brochure, or not the recreation brochure, the senior resource guide.
Is it in, oh, is it in there?
It is in there,
Oh,
but
okay.
of course, you know, it's something that we could definitely offer through the city website. It's a little bit more pronounced, and people could.
Yeah, because here it lists what they are offering, and that might entice more people when they can see what there is.
Is there, and this might come, I get, maybe it could be new business. Does Carver County have a Facebook page or the Office on Aging or anything? I mean, I think I'm fairly connected, and the only time I ever hear anything about Carver County is when she's joined us in our meetings. And I know they have a lot of resources. Is that anything we could pursue that, do they do any pushes on any of their information that's available?
That's a good question. I could definitely reach out and see if they have a Facebook page. They do have an active website, but I'm not sure about their website or their social media pages and advertisements they do there. If there is anything that comes our way, if it's something the committee would like the city to do, we could definitely start pushing those out on our social media pages as well.
Wonderful. Great, well, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, covered the events. Next, it's approval of the minutes. Anybody have any corrections, questions, concerns?
Do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum today.
We do. All right.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 4th?
I so move.
Okay. All right, and that Jack moved. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Jan. All right, next on the agenda, old business. I think we all fit in that category. Does anything, all in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Motion carries. New business. As we have no old business, the next item will be 6.1 under the new business, and that is the agenda report.
So, thank you. We have the Senior Advisory Committee meeting calendar for you guys to review. Council did approve this in late January, but just to recap on that, the Senior Advisory Committee meetings are held monthly on the first Monday at 10 a.m. And then due to city holidays, committee meetings in July and September have been moved to the following Monday. So they'll be the second Monday of July and September. And what we're just looking here is committee approval on the agenda or the committee meeting calendar. And I have a proposed motion up on the screen for you all.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the 2022 Senior Advisory Committee meeting calendar?
I move so.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
All right, motion carried. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, thank you. Next, we will move on to item 6.2, and that's review of the year-end report for the city council.
Wonderful, thank you again. If I don't skip too far ahead on the screen here. So we're taking a look at the year-end report for city council. This is something that council asks each committee to do annually and semi-annually, do a 6-month and an end-of-year report. It's usually about a 5 to 10 minute oral report they give at a city council meeting. This, of course, as our first official year as a committee, this will be our first report given to council, and I'm just going to pull up on screen here the committee agenda, maybe. There we go. And I just want to walk us through the accomplishments of the committee throughout the year and just a step-by-step of what we've done on the calendar. So of course, April was our first meeting in 2021. It was an organizational meeting going over things like the open meeting law, introducing each member to each other. In May, we developed the first work plan, or started to develop the first work plan for the committee, and we reviewed the World Health Organization's description of age-friendly communities and the AARP Livability Index for the City of Victoria. In June, we did a tour of the Bethesda Cornerstone Village facility, as well as took another look at the AARP network, Age-Friendly States and Communities. In July, we brought in Carver County Public Health representative from the Office of Aging as a monthly or periodic presenter to the committee. And then we also received a presentation from Patrick Jones, a committee member on the Carver County Library and the resources they provide. In August, we did an initial review of the Senior Resource Guide packet as well as the website, and we also received that presentation from Dawn from the Office of Aging. Going into September, we did another review of the guide and website with hopes of publishing that in the fall. And then, of course, we received another presentation from Carver County Public Health. In October, we received a presentation from Andrew, our fire chief, and the resources provided by the Victoria Fire Department. And also in October, we officially approved the Senior Resource Guide packet and website and started marketing shortly after. In November, we met with Southwest Transit and received a presentation on their services for the city. And we began marketing the packet and website. And then in December, we received a presentation from the Victoria Park and Rec Department, and we began to look at the 2022 work plan, which will be discussed later today. Progress on our 2021 Senior Advisory Committee work plan. We had, looking at this, 11 items that we wanted to cover through the 6 months that we had, and I think we did a fairly decent job of covering almost every single one of them. The first one was create awareness for Wecab and other regional transportation resources. We did receive that programming presentation from Southwest Transit, but we also promoted Wecab through our Senior Resource Guide and promoted Southwest Transit through our guide. And then we also engaged with Wecab and Southwest Transit in what we hope to do for our Senior Resource Expo, which was scheduled for October, but now will be moved to May. For our second item was to research and promote local home health programs. We did identify several local, regional, and state home health programs and promoted them through our Senior Resource Guide and webpage. We also participated in discussions with the Carver County Public Health on some of those resources, as well as the Victoria Fire Department on their resources as well. Something we did not cover this year was item number 3, which was review definition of affordable housing and housing wants for the 55-plus community. We did have, the City Council did meet with the ULI Urban Land Institute this fall, as well as the Carver County CDA, to discuss resources such as that, but that was not something the committee did. And number 4 was to learn from city staff about local housing options in Victoria. We did go to the Bethesda Cornerstone Village complex as a group and received a tour about those amenities, as well as Bethesda staff, Julie Hughes participates as a senior advisory committee member. 5, we review senior services webpage from other communities for best practices to better serve older adults. This is something I think we flourished over this year as all of you participated in that effort. Number 6, provide recommendations to staff of information to include in the senior resource website. Resources were provided and identified by the committee, and that created our senior resource guide and webpage. Work with city staff to partner library staff to identify and promote 55-plus programming. As mentioned before, Patrick did present to us on programming efforts to the Carver County Library System, as well as the promotion of those programs through city marketing and our resource guide. Number 8, to continue to enhance the city's website and communications to improve accessibility to over adults. Not only did we do the senior resource guide, but we did ask for your assistance in making sure that guide and webpage is accessible to all. That includes making sure links and phone numbers were included, making sure font size is easy to read. We also provided an instructional video to the resource website to help provide further instruction to those interested in the site. Number 9, identify and support partners to advocate for seniors needing extra help, especially with paperwork and computers. We did engage with Old National Bank to hold a workshop related to identity theft and banking protection. That was supposed to be held in the fall Senior Resource Expo. We're hoping to bring that to the spring one. 10, create senior welcome packets with city information and regional website to be digitally accessible and in print by request. As you all know, the senior resource website and guide were published this fall and marketed through the city's communication channels. We also have printed versions here at City Hall downstairs in our brochure rack. And then engage with the Carver County Office of Aging. As I mentioned, Dawn has attended a good chunk of our meetings and continues to provide us information as it comes up.
Wow, thank you.
Yes, that was a lot. Congratulations.
Yes, and
You all did a tremendous job.
well, thank you you were the spearhead between leading us to all of this accomplishments. I can ask if anybody has any questions or anything they want to discuss regarding the plan.
Is the senior welcome packet going to be probably displayed at our spring expo? Has it been sent out at all to anyone?
Great question. So for the first part, of course, we will definitely advertise and bring printed versions to the Senior Resource Expo. We will talk about at a future meeting having our own booth that we can promote a good chunk and variety of senior resources representing the committee in the city of Victoria. And of course, that will be a big part of that piece. For the second question, we do advertise on all of our social media channels about the Senior Resource webpage, as well as having the printed versions at our city facilities.
Is there any way to track any hits on our social media of how many people have actually looked at it, or has anybody requested any printed information?
Right.
Yeah, great question again. So for the first part, we will bring quarterly analytics on our senior webpage as well. I don't know if we can do individual social media posts, but I can talk to our communication manager about that. But I can see how many people are accessing our webpage per quarter, and I'll bring that back to you all. The second question, since we have printed versions downstairs, predominantly displayed in our brochure rack, we had several sitting on the front table. As soon as you walk into City Hall, we haven't had people specifically ask staff for printed versions.
With the new winter booklet you're talking about the Park and Rec book?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know, would there ever be an opportunity to have something in there about seniors wanting to learn more, here's how you can access it, as well as doesn't City of Victoria do a quarterly newsletter to all residents? Can we make sure it's in there? Because social media is great, but one of our goals was to update people on technology. Not everyone in that age group uses social media. So I think, can we look at other ways to get the message out there?
That's good.
Great thoughts and suggestions. We have scheduled the brochure to come out, or the guide to be advertised on our city-issued newsletter. We did not have it in the summer Victoria Recreation Center brochure, but I will make sure we add that to it. Our Resource Expo will be advertised in the Victoria Recreation brochure for summer.
In the newsletter, if they're new to Victoria and they happen to get the newsletter, you don't always know when a senior moves in. So is there some little blurb we can put in there that if you're new to Victoria, we invite you to contact the city or request a printed version or look on the city website. Just give our resources and just say, if you want a printed version, please contact the city. That it could be really a simple paragraph, but at least they can see that and see where they can go.
Absolutely, I will make sure the printed version is advertised in the newsletter
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, at least everyone will get that, yeah.
Love it.
I think thanks to you and all the committee members, we've accomplished a fair amount in a relatively short period of time, with COVID especially. Our meetings have been hit and miss, as well as our senior expo. But as we move further along, I think cross-marketing, especially for an older adult population, is the way to go to hit different media outlets, or however we can do it. So maybe we can keep our mind on that for the future.
Absolutely. And to your point, if there's any suggestions the committee has, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to see where we can advertise better.
I don't know if this would fit in under this category or new business. I unfortunately missed the December meeting, and I was over at the rec center the other day and ran into Holly and Ann, were they both here, or was it just Ann who presented in December?
They were both here.
Okay, I didn't watch it, I should have, but anyway. And Holly and I were talking about senior activities. I play quite a bit of pickleball and do some classes over there. And she mentioned that there was a good conversation and interaction at the December meeting. And she relayed that she's very open to offering some programs or suggestions, but Holly, they're kind of short-staffed. It's Ann and Holly for the Park and Rec Department, other than their summer playground people. So she encouraged us as we move along to talk and see about other things that we could possibly look to assist to reach out to the senior aging population in Victoria.
Yeah, great point, and that was a big discussion at the December meeting. And I would suggest let's take a look at the work plan. I think I added some pieces in there, but that's definitely something we can discuss and see if I added the correct thing or if we need to make some adjustments.
I think that's a very difficult one. I'm sure that will keep coming up all the time. How do we get to everybody? Can I dare say everybody? You can't, but obviously, but you have to try.
Absolutely, Jack.
Well, and part of responsibility is people initiating it and looking for some of the things they want to do, but to have the vehicles that they can find it is what I think our job should be.
Speaking of the rec club, have they opened up the coffee again?
No.
That's okay. I'm wishful thinking.
Yeah. Look at that. All right, are there any other questions or information regarding the agenda report? All right, and then next we will move on to the 2022 work plan.
All right. So based on, and I'm going to pull it up here as well. That's 2021. Based on the recommendations from previous meetings, I drafted a 2022 senior committee work plan. And I'm going to go through each of these, but just to give you an overview, most of them have to revolve around communication, developing that senior resource packet, developing the senior expo, and then going into those recreation programs as previously described. So I'm going to pull up here. The first one, going step by step, is to conduct an assessment of the senior resource packet and website to ensure relevancy and accuracy. This is something that can be conducted annually. I anticipate if the committee agrees that we'll be doing this in upcoming years. It will be something that will be continuous in our work plan. And what this is meaning is just taking a look at that packet, making sure that the phone numbers are correct, making sure that the resources are still what we want to pursue on our packet, And then if there's any additional resources that we want to add, this would be the time to do so. The other thing to mention on here is bullet point 3, is to receive those quarterly webpage statistics so we know how we're doing on hits. The second is coordinate and promote City of Victoria Senior Resource Expo. So determining who vendors we want at the expo, identifying speakers, being volunteers for the expo, getting that table up and going so we can promote the packet, and then coordinating and managing a booth, like I just said, at the expo. The third would be to continue to recommend ways to better communicate and reach Victoria's senior population. So continuously informing staff if you hear any complaints or letting people know about upcoming programs, events, volunteer opportunities, etc. If there's anything you'd like to broadcast or you find beneficial to broadcast on our city communication channels, letting us know. Recommending outreach initiatives to staff, reaching out to identify groups and organizations, neighborhoods about the senior resource or the senior advisory committee and other senior programs, and then recommend speakers that you'd like to see at the upcoming committee meetings. Next is survey Victoria residents on needed park and recreational programming and make recommendations to the Park Recreation Committee as needed. Something that was mentioned at the December meeting, it might be great to take the opportunity during the expo to create a printed survey. We can also develop that as a digital survey to see where we're missing and what gaps we can fill when it comes to recreational programming for that senior population in our community. This would be something we would start taking a look at in March, is developing that list of survey questions, and then we can distribute that come May. Next is research walkability study programs, conduct a program and determine, if determined by the committee. So we can review AARP and the Minnesota Department of Health walkability study programs and determine if this is something we would like to see and if it would be beneficial to have for our community. This I would anticipate not just being a 2022 project, but maybe a 2022, 2023, possibly even a 2024 program. Review current Victoria Park and Recreation Center and Park and Rec programming to ensure that the city is meeting the needs of our aging population. So we would review current recreation center and department programs and then make recommendations to city staff on ways to make the programs more age-friendly. Recommend and aid in launching new Victoria Recreation Center programs geared towards Victoria's aging population. So recommend those new programs to city staff and when a program aid in launching and managing programs. And then continue to engage with the Carver County Office of Aging by having Don or other representatives from the Office of Aging to participate in committee meetings. And I did come up with a tentative timeline if this is something we'd like to see. Obviously, we are in February, so we would be setting a date for the expo, and that I do have in the agenda under other. And then, of course, approving this work plan. March, preparing for the Senior Advisory Expo, developing that senior survey, and then reviewing the potential list for vendors. Moving into April, we have an annual organizational meeting, doing the similar to what we did last year of reviewing the open meeting law, reviewing how the meeting operates and works. Of course, we would continue preparing for the expo. We would start sharing the digital version of the senior survey through our city communication channels, and then work on approving that survey before that, of course. May would be primarily preparing for that Senior Advisory Expo. And then moving into June, we would discuss the analysis of the survey results, review the results of the Senior Expo, and then start taking analysis of those walkability programs from the AARP and MDH or other programs if we can find any. July, we would discuss a little bit more about the walkability program. We would start reviewing the Park and Recreation Center programs. August, we would continue discussion of Park and Recreation Center programs and their needs. And then in September, of course, we would continue that discussion. October, that's when we would begin to review the senior resource packet, starting to look at the website links work, if there's any additions or corrections we need to make. And then hopefully we will continue that in November, and then in December approve the upcoming 2022-2023 senior resource packet.
Wow, once again.
I
nice
love it.
job.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a great timeline. It really zeroes in on where our focus needs to be. Is there a possibility of getting just a copy of that?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah, that really narrows it down.
And then I just want to mention, we do have a couple continuous projects, which will be the regular presentations by Dawn from Carver County Health, and then continue to recommend what are better ways to communicate and reach senior populations.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I just have the old work plan up on the screen.
Any other thoughts or questions before we make a motion to approve the work plan?
Have we chosen a date? Has it been established for the expo, or are we still?
Great question, Jack. We have booked the Lions Park Pavilion for May 17th.
what day of the week is that?
That would be a Tuesday. I have it up on the screen as well.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions? If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the 2022 Senior Advisory Committee Work Plan?
I'll make the motion that we approve that senior citizen work plan for.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Wonderful. Motion carries.
I look forward to it. It'll be a good year. It'll be a fun year.
Let's hope next year we're a little, COVID won't put, yeah. All right, is there, next item on the agenda is other business. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss before we look at the AARP grant proposal? Nope, all right. It's you again, Alyssa.
All right, I can take it away. So the AARP does a annually community livabilities grant. And it's something that we could take a look at putting a proposal for the city, but I just wanted to get a sense of where the committee would feel if we would put together a proposal for funding for our upcoming Expo. They provide funding for a wide variety of activities. It could be providing our purchasing park benches, it could be hosting events, it could be buying knock boxes like our fire chief mentioned a few months ago. But I think what we're kind of looking for as a committee is to really develop that communication effort. And I feel like this proposal could be, or this grant could be really geared towards bringing in some great vendors, printing off more senior resource packets for that event, printing out flyers, and just bolstering our communication efforts. What my thought would be if the committee would find that to be a good proposal is that I would bring back the final application before you in March and then submit before the deadline in late March.
What's required for accessing this grant?
Other than being a local community, not a whole much. I can pull up the website if you'd like.
and what size grant are we talking about?
I haven't determined yet. I wanted to see if this would be something you guys would like to see or before I dive in.
Did we talk about this or we talked about some AARP stuff when we were reviewing resources, and were there some other cities that had taken advantage of this grant that we had reviewed or that we had looked at previously in Minnesota?
Yes, so according to the website, there's been over 800 projects that have been brought together by this grant or been funded by this grant. So several cities, several communities have taken advantage of these funds.
I think what you're referring to is we were listening to a commitment of 2 years of fitting into a program.
It's whatever we
would
were
be
talking about
suited
in that
to-
small group
Yes.
meeting.
Yeah, it was a little different.
Had
than
something
this.
up on the screen, yeah.
I do remember, thank you, Jan, for correcting me. So that would be the Livable Communities
Yeah.
program, and that would be something separate that the
Okay.
AARP does do. You do not have to be a livable community to apply for this grant.
Okay.
I, for one, think we're new, we're trying to get the word out. Anything and we can do to improve our resources or to aid in communication or programming. I, for one, think it would be a great idea to submit a proposal for the grant.
I don't see any downside.
What are,
Work for you.
Is it what are the term limits on the grant? 1 year, 2 year, or is it
a
an
1 year.
annual renewal? Okay.
and you haven't received the criteria that they look at for awarding grants?
I have not.
Okay.
Not specifically,
We
but I
just-
do
we
know
just-
that innovative programming and services is one of the projects.
Oh, okay.
Fund.
So you're quite positive.
Fingers crossed.
Good enough.
Right.
I think with something like that too, we're as a committee looking to help and establish and aid in getting more things out in the community, and that would give us some extra vehicles and tools to grow the awareness. So I for one think, like you said, there's no downside.
Do you need a motion that we,
I
pursue
do not.
that?
No,
Okay.
not for this one. Just wanted to see if that would be something the committee would be
well,
interested in.
yeah, well, what can we lose?
Right.
And go for as much as you can get.
I love it.
Sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for.
Well, yeah, you'd let us know if it came with strings, wouldn't you?
Next thing on the agenda is item 7.2, the Senior Resource Expo. Already mentioned it's set for, or the pavilion is reserved on May 17th from 10 to 2. Have all of you been in the pavilion?
I have not.
It's
Yes, I have.
It's just a wonderful space that can easily accommodate.
Since they redid it, or,
Oh, it's pretty new. I helped with the Royal Ball for little kids with.
Oh, that was a very cold night.
Yeah, but it just is perfect. Even COVID, hopefully we don't have to encounter that, but I think it will lend very nicely to what we're.
everything then will be able to be inside? That's, to worry about the weather is what I'm thinking.
Right. And hopefully we can get good weather so we can keep the garage doors open if we need to. But yes, it could be 100% inside if need to be.
Are we going to talk, or will that happen in March, a review of the vendors and the different?
I have that scheduled for March.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Luckily, we had great response when we were previously going to hold it in October. So I'm hoping those same groups of businesses and the community members will again be interested in the May date.
Do you think, I can't recall if this was something we had when we were going to do it back in October, but do you think there'd be any way the mayor, as well as maybe the city administrator or manager, could come and welcome people and kind of put a face with, to show that they're in support of this and they value their elderly or older population? Could you maybe pursue that?
Great question. I could definitely ask.
I think that would be great. It would give it some more authority as well.
Anybody else have any other thoughts or questions regarding to the Senior Expo?
Something was mentioned last time we talked about getting our presenters or speakers. And I think I was saying we for sure would want to have a representative from AARP there. But I think you mentioned that they're fairly booked up and they're hard to get. Do we need to start asking right away now?
I believe AARP wasn't able to attend due to COVID restrictions at the time. Of course, we can always ask and see what those restrictions are for AARP employees.
Okay.
And I know the MAAA, they now have a new name, or their senior resource line. Weren't we looking at having a representative from them come at one
I will
point?
have to check my list.
Yeah, that's going back a while. Well, great. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that May it will be and we won't have to cancel. And I'm actually excited about the Expo as a way to hopefully let people know that there's a group that's looking at the aging population and try to stir up some interest and get some thoughts and ideas, so. Wonderful. Okay.
When do we get into the nitty-gritty of listing who we want to come and so forth?
Right. I do have that scheduled for our March meeting. Yep. I will bring a list of the vendors. I can start reaching out now if you'd like, and I can get a list of current or already committed members or vendors, and then I can see ones that haven't committed, and if we want to add to that list, we can.
Yeah, I think it's not too early, I think. People get booked. So it's however you feel comfortable.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town in March, and I don't know if I'll be available via the internet. Were we planning there again? This was a while back. It's going to be a vendor fair, basically, where people stroll around to booths and whatnot. Were we talking about having presentations kind of scattered in throughout the 4-hour period, or is that something we'll discuss in March?
We did have that conversation when it came to the last committee or the last discussion we had over our expo. We were talking to the Old National Bank about presenting on identity theft and security with banking. So if we can find presenters, if there's anyone that we would like to see present to that, I think that would be a great resource to have at the expo.
Yeah, I can see us handing out, when people arrive to come in, handing out just a welcome, and here's our vendors, and here's the times of these speakers. Just a little flyer to hand out or pick up.
Like an agenda of sorts.
Yeah, sort of an agenda.
What is your copy date for the Victoria Quarterly newsletter? When is that going to go out? What's the final date that they can accept?
I am not sure on that one, but I can take a look. I would have to talk to our communications manager and find that deadline.
Okay, because the Senior Resource Expo, I mean, what is developed here is really nice. Could there be a link or a little more information that, there'll be vendors and information as well as, resource or a presentation on identity theft or just a couple of things, to give it a little more to.
Depending on when it comes out, yeah.
Yeah, I know, that's.
I don't
why
want to
asked
jump the
about
gun with presenters we don't necessarily have yet.
Yeah.
But our communications manager, Kendra, designed this. She also manages our newsletters. So she does an excellent job, and I'm sure we can help, or she can help wordsmith to develop a good way to
do it, yeah.
Will we have flyers and so on at the post office as an example, or other places to warn people or encourage them to come and be aware?
Definitely can, yes. So we already have the flyer drafted, ready to go. It's just printing it out and getting it posted.
The newsletter, does it come out the first of the month?
I do not know
Okay.
the actual timeline. I think it
Probably
depends on when it comes from the print.
Just before the date. People, you have to keep it in the front of their minds, so you don't want to send it out too soon.
Right.
The other thing, I will check the line, you know, the board that's always in front of Lions Park.
Yes.
That's owned, I think, I don't know if it's Park and Rec or the Lions that own it, but I can follow up and make sure that we can have that out prior to it to kind of, I mean, that's a pretty visible way to.
Yes, good.
Which sign was that?
It's, what do they call the yellow sign, that you can display like,
Oh, just
the board.
a lighted sign?
Oh, it's on wheels, and anytime they have events at Lions Park, like
Oh.
for the softball tournament, or when they have their movie night upcoming, or the
Sure.
local blood drive.
Sure.
It's just
That'd be a good idea,
It's a
yes.
drive-by, I mean, it's visible on those signs,
Right.
so.
The more visual you can get, yes. Good idea.
Okay, I guess, seeing there are no other items, and if anybody want to add any other thing before we make a motion for adjournment? May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jan. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned, and everyone stay warm, and we'll look at seeing you on March 7th, is it?
Yep.
Go by fast. All right, thank you all.
Thank you. Oh, don't forget to vote.
Oh, yes, thank you, Nancy. We do have new artwork up on display that's bi-weekly, so we have our ballots here. Feel free to vote on your favorites, and then you can just hand those back to me when you're done.
I wondered when I looked over there and saw the horse looking at me, I thought it's beautiful. I hope it's tame.